Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? In this short video, I'm going to describe to you how you'll be able to work on project number two. So project number two, like I mentioned earlier, is a financial project. All right, it covers the financial sections that we covered, right? So we spoke about mortgages and retirement. Basically, we are going to focus on these in section 7, where we used relative and absolute changes. Is that okay? Now, so as an Ivy Tech student, you are making an investment into your education. This project will look at how that investment will pay off if you graduate and get a job in your desired field. Is that okay? So you'll only be required to turn in the Word document for this project. You may use the template provided below to create your own spreadsheet. All right, so you need Excel to work on these. All right, now if you look into Ivy Land, you have these three documents right on your screen. Is that okay? I'm going to go through each of these, all right, and explain to you how you can get this project done. Are you ready to go? All right, now I already have these downloaded, so I'm not going to download these again. All right, so I'm going to go through the first document, which talks about project two, the finance document. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen and I'll share with you the first Word document on this page. Sounds good? All right, let's go. So right here, I have the document. Now, this is the first document that you see, all right, in your project two document. Now, so like I already said, you're just going to compare income levels. Is that okay? So this project will look at how that the investment into your education, will help you. Is that okay? So we'll be comparing your future finances with someone who is not a college graduate. Is that okay? So we are going to assume that we are going to assume a certain amount for a high school graduate, because before you get into Ivy Tech or college, you might have completed what? High school. So we want to see the changes that are going to happen in your life after you graduate from Ivy Tech. So we are going to assume uh, a median annual salary of 23,000 for a high school graduate, right? Now, we are going to use this value in comparison statements with proper absolute and relative change statements. So we're going to focus on section 7 now. Is that okay? So we're going to look at section 7. That is where we're going to use the absolute and relative change values. You remember those values? So we said absolute change is the new minus the old, and relative change is the new minus the old over the old. And relative change is a percentage change. Is that okay? You remember that? So if you have forgotten that, go back to section 7 and look at relative changes. Now, I'm going to give you a caution on how to use your absolute and relative changes. Is that okay? And you have to use the interpretations right to earn full credit for that. Now, in this project, you are required to do the following. First, create an Excel to help calculate the correct values for housing and retirement, right? Although this is not a graded part of the project, only Excel can produce the correct result. So your calc will not help you at this point. So you really need to use Excel. All right. Like we did, you have to use your PMT, your PV, and your FV functions. And it is only Excel that can do that. If you rely on your calc, you may be disappointed. All right. Now, um, and I wouldn't request for the Excel file. So do your own Excel file. All right. And then give me the values. Now refer to Excel to help in the book. Refer to Excel help in the book or notes in your course on how to find mortgage, retirement values, and you will use PV, FV, PMT formulas in Excel. Now we said that PMT is used to find the monthly payment. All right, when you know the amount borrowed. Is that okay? You remember that? And we said PV is used to estimate how much of a mortgage or how much of a loan you can afford when you know the monthly payment. And then FV is used to estimate retirement. All right, anything retirement, you have to use the future value function. Is that okay? Now, let's go ahead. Now, your written portion of the project will consist of the following, right? So a minimum of 3 sentences or words or 50 words. Now, for each, use proper quantitative reasoning and wording to address the solution. So you have to use proper quantitative reasoning to address the solution. So use numbers. I don't want to see statements like more than, less than. If you're using that, give me a quantify what you're saying. So you have to tell me that it is maybe 2,000 more than that. All right. Now, you remember when we're dealing with absolute changes, when you find the absolute change, the new minus old, and you get a positive result, that is what an increase. So you interpret that as an increase. And when you get a negative value, that is what? A decrease. So use those interpretations, use the correct interpretations. Okay. And that is what has been stated here. So you have to be careful how you do those interpretations. All right. You have to quantify. Now, so now that we know your how much a high school graduate earns, and that has been given us, we have fixed that as at 23,000. You're going to use this link, okay? So what you do is you use this link, and this may not connect unless you can hit Control. If you hit Control, you'll be able to select this link. So click. So it says that Control and then click to follow the link. Okay, so if you hit Control on your computer, you'll be able. This link is going to open for you to access. So that gives you the median salary for whatever career that you choose. So you would decide, all right, whether you want to be a nurse, you want to be a data analyst, you want to be a teacher, whoever you want to be, you can find the income levels, the median income right here, okay, using this link. Sounds good. All right, so go to this link and then look at the career you anticipate, and then choose the median salary for that and do the comparison between a high school and that career. All right, nice. Now, so mortgage. So the first thing you do here is mortgage. Assume you are planning on spending a certain amount of income towards a mortgage. Now, the terms of the mortgage are 1.85% APR for 30 years. Okay. Now, you plan on spending 32% of your monthly gross income towards your mortgage. So pay attention to these words. You're spending 32%, okay, of your monthly gross. Now, so if you are, say, in a year, your annual income is, say, 100,000. So this is how much you make for the year. All right. If you want to find your annual gross, what do? You have to divide this whole 10 by 12 to find the monthly gross. So this is how much you make per year. Is that okay? You have to divide that by 12 to get the monthly gross. All right. Then when you do that, you do 36% of that as how much goes into your mortgage monthly. Is that okay? So you do, assuming that's what you have, 100,000 divided by 12 will give you the monthly gross. All right. Then you do 36% of that to get your monthly gross. So we are not considering taxes. So forget about taxes at this point. So don't assume that a tax of 7% or whatever. Just use the gross. Is that okay? So forget about net. We are talking about gross here. Is that okay? So gross is how much you get without taxes, and net is how much you take after you get after taxes. But we are not talking about, we are not assuming any tax rate yet. Is that okay? Nice. Now, so what do you do here? So you're going to use Excel to do that. Now, if you spend 32% of your gross towards a house, what is the highest price of a house? What is the highest price you can afford for a house? So what function do you think you need to use here? You need to use a PV function for this. Okay, so go back and um, check that out. How you can use PV when you know the rate and then you know how long the mortgage is for. Is that okay? Nice. So that gives you that. And then you are also going to assume that you are using the same rate, 32% of your high school um, gross, monthly gross, to pay for your mortgage. And again, you want to estimate how much of a home you'll be able to afford. And again, you still have to use the PV function at this point. Now, the last point here, at this point, you are going to compare the two using absolute and relative change. So you can decide to use absolute change or you can decide to use relative change. All right. When you do the absolute change and the relative change, either of them, you have to interpret them quantitatively. Okay. So do a very good interpretation of that. Okay. You just compare the two. All right. Nice. Are you good at this point with the mortgage loan? All right. Now let's go to retirement. So here, assume that your selected job has a retirement plan that allows you to save for 38 years. So we are looking at the tenure of your retirement to be 38 years. Now, if 7% of your monthly income, so now that you know your monthly income, you do 7% of that. Okay, assuming 7% of that goes into your retirement at this rate, use the FV function, and you know how to do that. Okay, so use the FV function to do that. So go into your Excel or go back and find how you can use the FV, knowing the rate, all right, knowing the tenure, how long, is that okay? And knowing how much goes into your retirement account and do the estimation. And you do same for your high school income, all right? So you do same for your high school monthly gross and check if 7% of that money was going into your retirement account. And finally, you use absolute and relative change to compare the two, all right? Your college and your high school. And then you make a very good quantitative statement, okay, using relative and absolute change. Okay, nice. Now, finally, you come to the last bit of the project where you look at the salary increase. You know, for most companies, you know that they give you a raise every year. They look at, they give you a percentage of your income as a raise. Now, imagine if your job gives a salary raise of 1.75 each year. How long will it take for your salary to be twice as much as you started? Is that okay? You remember, so and this falls under exponential functions, exponential growth. We remember. Do you remember we did something? The 70 rule for doubling time. So if you look at pages 124, okay, I don't know why my screen is flashing like that. Pages 124, you should be able to have an idea how to estimate this. Pages 124, use that to check on the doubling time. Is that okay? Nice. So that page should help you to go through the doubling time. So you have to estimate how long it will take for your high school to double and how long it will take for your college or your current salary to double, right? And then you have to compare the two again using absolute and relative change. Okay, nice. So that is for number 4. And for the last point, you want to consider working for a company that gives you two options. So you're looking at, you want to weigh the options between company A and company B, right? So company A gives 2.25% of your salary every year. So they give you an increase of 2.25, and company gives you a fixed amount every year. Now, which scenario should you take for a job? Option A or option B? Okay, and then let me give you a page for this as well. If you go to pages 107, you should be able to see the impact on increasing by a percentage and increasing by a fixed amount. All right. On that page, we discussed Oliver, when Oliver decided to invest some fixed amount, and then we look at when Oliver decided to invest a percentage amount. So page 107 should be a very good guide for you on that. Okay. And then finally, you again will use absolute and relative changes to do that. All right. And then should the high school graduate take option A, option B? So you make that choice based on the values you have, and you have to give justification for your answer for a high school graduate. Okay. So that is that for the first document you see on your finance project. Are you Gucci at this point? All right. Now let's go to the second document and look at that. Now the second document talks about the rubric, so how this project will be graded, okay? And it's pretty clear here how this project is going to be graded. So you have to look at the rubric and make sure you're putting in all the work to ensure that everything looks great. So please make sure you're doing the right thing, and then use a font size of 12. Okay, so I want you to use Times New Roman. Okay, so Times New Roman, all right, with a font size of 12, and make sure your work is justified. Okay, when you're done, make sure you select everything and then you justify, because sometimes you type, I don't know if you know how that works, and then you want to make sure that everything is well aligned. Is that okay? You justify your work, and that will look great over there. Okay, so Times New Roman, font size of 12. You may highlight, you may decide to highlight or use some colors, all right, to give me a very good idea just for emphasis to be able to see what you're doing. Sounds good? So that's for the rubric. All right. So check your spelling and grammar appropriately. Don't no test language. So don't use LOL, right? um, SMH and all that. I don't want to see that. Make sure you're professional, and you should be good. All right. So that's the second document on the project. Let's go to the final document. Okay. Now the final document on the project talks about. Okay. So that's a guide to you. So over here, I have also provided a guide. This is just a guide. So financial project student guide. So in addition to this explanation, I've given you a guide as to how you can do this. So note, this is meant only as a guide. Numbers and titles may appear different in this guide, but the placement and spreadsheet setup is the same. Okay, minor changes may also be made, such as font size, bold letters, and highlighting, which is not required. But if you want to do that, I think I'll give you the option to do that just for emphasis. Okay, nice. So this is just a guide. You may want to go through this as well. This will further explain to you how to go about it. And some numbers have been assumed here. I've assumed some numbers, okay, to help you go through the project smoothly. Is that okay? So this explains how you'll be able to go about the project. So make sure you're taking a look at all the documents and all the instructions, and it's pretty clear how this has been done. Okay. So this will further give you an idea what to do and how to go about things. All right. So thanks so much for your time. And as always, feel free to reach out if you have any doubts or any concerns. Okay. All right. So thanks. And I look forward to grading your work. And I know you give me the best. So thanks. Bye bye.